Hello there, it's Sean, and in this video I would like to introduce the inbound close method. And this process in its essence is about mastering simplicity. Okay, mastering simplicity, because too often when we add a new setter, a new closer into our team and we try to scale and we pour money into ad spend and we build another series of fancy funnels and we get a new software and we believe initially that the addition of all these external tools, which are great, we might have thought that these things would automate the process and speed up what's already working and scale, right? But anytime you feel that, hey, I've put in all these new automations and additions, but it seems like back when my team was more lean and more simple, it seems like our performance was much better back then. Why? So every time you feel overwhelmed by growth and scaling and all these automations, bring your mind back to simplicity. And when I say simplicity, go back to your offer, go back to the 3 C's. If you head over to inboundclose.com, you will see a 3-part video series, and each of the videos focuses on content, conversation, and calls. Content, conversation, and calls. A lot of times, the misalignment is in the root of how these 3 processes are being done. First of all, it all stems from your offer. Like, what is your offer? How is it being designed? How is it being showcased? And does your audience understand your offer? Is it accessible? If they want to know, okay, what is your solution? What do you sell? How easily can they get access to understanding it? They might not get the full details, but do they know about your offer? Does it have a name? Is there something that they can see to just easily understand what is it that you sell? Like, how, if you were to just simply explain what do you do, let's say your ideal client was sitting right in front of you and you just needed to give them 1 sentence or 2 sentences to say, this is what I do, this is my offer, here's what I have to sell you. Would it be simple and easy to understand? That all stems from the offer. And then your content, which is the material that I believe you've been consistently putting out. Is it simple and easy to understand? Same thing with the conversations, same thing with the calls. Sometimes once you add in the automations, the funnels, the setters and the closers, your business starts to grow on the outside, but on the inside, the simplicity starts to decay. So then, is the solution to add more funnels? To add more software, buy more programs? These things bring us deeper and deeper into the chaos. So anytime you feel that you're going kind of that way, bring your mind back to simplicity. And here's what I mean. First, let us identify the problem and let me know if you are kind of going through this right now, which is you have added the automations, your new CRM, a new software, and you're pouring money into ads. And like I was saying earlier, the simplicity decays. The audience growth moves in the wrong way. Now your audience starts to lose track and not understand what you're actually selling. And because of that, your seller has a hard time hitting their numbers. And the calls, if you're currently taking your own calls or you have a closer taking your calls, they feel unnatural, and a lot of the calls drag on, and the prospects are, picking your brain for free, and they are dragging the calls out, and then they're surprised when you have an offer to pitch. Like, the whole flow from offer to content to calls and close, what used to be so simple back when it was just a one-man team, yourself, it used to be simple. Now it starts to become complicated, and because of this complicatedness, we push in more and more effort and the flow disappears. So when that happens, the root cause of it is not because you didn't push harder, or you didn't add more automations, or you didn't add more setters and closers and all that stuff. It's a deeper internal misalignment. So we need to go back to look at the offer. How is it being designed and presented? We need to look at the content that has been going out. We need to look at the conversations that's happening in your inboxes and the way the calls that are being done. We always go back to the 3 C's. And what we want to do when we look through the content, the conversation and calls is we want to look at where is the noise. And we want to eliminate the noise as much as we can. From there, we want to increase the correct signals that say, if you're my ideal client, here are my results, here's what I can do, and this is for you. Right? We want to scale, but we don't want to scale with noise. We don't necessarily need more traffic or engagement. We need quality. We need to eliminate all that noise and present the right signals that pull in an inbound flow of the right clients. This is what I mean by simplicity. So then, where is the opportunity? Because when we no longer push, when we no longer send out noise, when we remove all of that, you'll find that anytime your ideal client sees your content, anytime you show up and your ideal client sees you, they come towards you because they are like, I see you, I like you, I start to trust you, and I want to know what you have to offer. I see the results that you bring to the table and I want to know more. Right? And in part 2 of my 3-part video series, you'll see this happening in all the conversations that I share. They are coming towards us. So by the time a call even happens, it's not a tire kicking call. It's not a pick your brain for free call. It is a buyer conversation, and it is the DMs. It is the conversations that did all the heavy lifting before. And even before that, it is the content, the simple and easy to understand content that did the heavy lifting for the conversation. So now, from content to conversations to calls, the 3 C's, because of the simplicity, it now crawls the algorithm, pulls in the right eyeballs, pulls in the right clients without us having to push, without us having to chase, without us having to add in more complications. And this is what the inbound close method is about. The inbound close method is to bring in this simplicity and to build in the simple systems that achieve this inbound pull effect. So here are the 3 C's I was saying. The content that you have been putting out, is it just personal stuff? Or are you not posting consistently? Do you struggle to put out content? Do you struggle to write, to get on camera, to put out videos? Without content, your setter and closer can work extremely hard, but they don't have what I like to call the meat to eat. The content always sets the stage for the conversations to come in and flow. If we are the ones chasing in the conversations, if we are the ones pushing the numbers up in the conversations, and the way that a prospect comes is not towards us, but they are stale, they are moving away, they are cold, most if not all of the time, it's the content that they see before that. It's not helping the conversations. So we need to give our sellers the meat to eat. We need to put out the right type of content, right? And in part 1 of my 3-part video series at inboundclose.com, I show you the kind of content that pulls these conversations in so that we don't have to chase. And then when it gets to the calls, if your calls are like an hour long, an hour plus long, and they don't know who you are, they don't know about your process, and you find that on those calls you have to do your entire marketing process on that sales call, then same thing. Most, if not all of the time, the conversations that happen before the call, they are not helping the calls. So most of the heavy lifting before a call even happens has to be done in the conversations. But like by the time they are chatting with you, they should know about their problem. They should know about your signature process. They should know that if we get on a call, it is going to talk about the solution, which is the offer that you or your closer is going to sell. That way, anytime and every time a call happens, it won't be a tire kicking call. It will be a buyer conversation. It's a short conversation. It is about enrollment, and they are fully aware of your process and your offer. So they book the call knowing it is a sales call. They book the call knowing the price of your program. They book a call knowing everything. So a lot of time, if you see part 3 of my 3-part series at inboundclose.com, you'll see that that prospect, it was a recorded live call. He booked that call to enroll. That's how you achieve at least a 40 to 50% close rates for all your calls. No more chit-chat calls, no more pick your brain calls, no more doing your marketing on your sales call. So this gives you a huge advantage, because to scale, you don't need a big team. You need one highly trained appointment setter that's handling all your organic conversations in your voice for you, and I cover that in part 2 of my 3-part video series, and it's fully commission based. And your closer, it can be you or someone that you hire that's trained by us, okay, and that's it. Maybe an additional coach if you need someone to help you with the coaching and accountability, but there's no additional software. There's no pouring thousands into ad spend that you have to constantly stress over. There's no external agency that you have to depend on. You don't need to add more. You need the right type of less. So I'm going to share some results in the next few slides, but this is what it looks like, which is now your business is not something that is weighing you down, but you and your closer actually look forward to the calls, because by the time, like I said, by the time the call even happens, these are people that know about your offer and they are 50% there, they are halfway home. The calls that come in no longer become no-shows or confused prospect. The conversations that flow in, they have seen your content. And the thing about content is that they are your 24/7 marketers and salespeople, because the internet never sleeps. At their own time, they're looking through your process. At their own time, they are looking through your client results. At their own time, they are looking at your signature offer. So the conversations are never to chase. The conversations are to serve. So it's an organic, communication-based business that doesn't involve chasing, cold calling, ramping up high numbers but low conversions. It is a very enjoyable process that now you get to enjoy your coaching, your setters get to enjoy their conversations, and your closers enjoy their sales calls, because everything flows inbound. It's invitation based, it's pre-understanding based. So the struggle is gone, the confusion is gone, the chaos is gone. We scale everything down to what works. This is simplicity, when less becomes more. So how do you know if the inbound close method is ideal for you? Okay, you have a proven high ticket offer. Like before you scaled your team, you actually made all those sales on your own. You took your own sales calls, you handle your own conversations, and then you're like, okay, I got it now, it's time to scale. And then you scale, you bring in the seller, the closer, the automations, and then it became inconsistent. So the right mindset I have here is to go back to simplicity. And if that is what you're looking for right now, you don't want to stack on more tools and you want to rebuild your system based on that simplicity, then this method is for you. If you've reached a point where simplicity has been calling out to you, the inbound close method is for you. So you don't need to commit to anything right now. What I can do for you, if you have watched this video up to this point, is I can provide you a free, no pitch, It's not going to be a sales pitch. Strategy audit. And what that means is I'm going to look through your offer and your content and your conversations and your calls. And if you already have a seller or closer in your team right now, I will look through their work as well, their DMs, their calls, and I'm quite curious to see where is the noise and where is the original brilliance that worked for you, and I'm going to pinpoint where that simplicity could be. And when you look at the full picture from top down and you like what you're hearing and you find that, hey, maybe we can continue to work together, then we can have a second conversation. Okay, but otherwise, this free strategy audit does not come with a pitch. Okay, you can book a session with me at my Calendly/Sean Cena, and then let's look at your offer, your content, your conversation, and your calls, and see where the bottleneck and brilliance are, respectively. This is Chris. He's a music production coach. He does audio engineering and all that complicated stuff, and he too got lost in the chaos, and he was adding a new software, a new CRM, and all that stuff. And then he was like, wait a minute, why am I doing all this when the initial setup already worked? Right? So he, like most of us, he almost gone down that path of doing more and adding on more without understanding why his clients came to him in the first place. His clients came to him because he was simply amazing at what he does. Then I looked through his conversations, I looked through his calls, and because he spent so much time in the tech and the automation and the software, he lost that human touch. He lost that human connection that was what made his business work in the very first place. So the trick is, as he scales, how can his seller and closer continue his original authenticity and his voice and his energy and his brilliance? How can we keep that nucleus intact? And with that, he was able to scale with ease, with simplicity, and not adding any more complications. This is Amanda. She actually has 2 sales as of this video, and this is more of a mindset issue for Amanda, because the 3 to 4 figures she was able to close, and then once it got to 5 figures, she thought that the product was more complicated. Again, when I looked through the offer, I realized that the offer wasn't actually more complicated, but the complications were in her mind. And then she started to overthink, 3 to 4 figures. Why was she able to close? Because she understood her voice, she understood her intentions, that she was there to serve her clients. And then once it got to a higher price offer, then she started to doubt herself. So once we worked through the process of her calls and her conversations, the reality was nothing needed to change. She just needed to know herself, to know her strength, that what is it about her that her clients come to her for. Initially, it was her clarity, her empathy, her understanding of the services that she was able to provide. And then once it got to the next level, she started to overcomplicate it. So how can we bring ourselves back to the original simplicity, the original brilliance that we had? This is Coley selling an engineering product. And on her calls, these conversations can get very mechanical and very technical and very logical. And she will lose track of the most simplest things that happen on sales calls. Too deep in the forest, she couldn't see the trees. So I listened to her calls, and I reviewed her calls, and then I pinpointed. Because before this, she could already close. And the way that she closed, again, same thing. She was clear, she kept things simple. She knew herself, she knew her product, she knew her clients. And then as the calls dragged on and the calls became more and more, then she lost track of that clarity. Same thing, this is Coley again. And it wasn't that the product became more complicated, you know. It wasn't that the prospects became more complicated. She was not able to hold her ground and say the simplest things that the prospect needed to hear. And why didn't she say it? For her case, she was afraid to say it. She knew what she needed to say. But her inner game, her mental game, her mindset was stuck in some kind of a noise that was happening internally. So again, this is another mindset thing, because the product didn't change. The way that the prospect came in didn't change. Sometimes we get too logical minded, we forget what our original voice used to be. This is Elaine, and during her time with me, she crossed 50K in sales selling aesthetic medicine products. And again, this is a case of someone who was already able to close. And then as the stress piled on, as life got in the way, then she had a sales slump because she lost her mind, lost herself for a little while there, lost her focus. And so I listened to her calls, I looked through her messages, and I asked her the same questions that I asked Amanda and Coley, which is, why do your clients come to you? And if they were sitting in front of you right now, what would you say to them? What would you show them? So then she put away all the fancy scripts, she put away all that tonality training, and she went back to her simple truth. How she's able to trust herself when serving her clients. How she's able to trust her products, which she knows works, because she has had many successful clients before this. How can she remind herself of her strength? So again, the question is, do we add more? Do we add more? Or do we reduce and eliminate and go back to our truth? Then our setters and closers can understand that truth and amplify it for us in the right way. So it's not more noise, it's more clarity. This is Broderick selling a musician coaching offer, and he can talk well. He talks fast, he talks clear, and his first week taking calls, this is a closer that I trained. He was able to bring in massive, his first week, complete rookie. And one of the main things that we changed was for him to talk less. Because as a beginner, as a rookie, taking his first week of calls, inbound calls, I told him, you're talking too much. A lot of times our success comes from simply not doing certain things. And in his case, he had a process that already worked. He had a process that already worked before him. How can he stick to the plan and eliminate all the unnecessary noise so that his prospects can clear the fog and see, okay, this is your offer, and this is how I can easily understand it, and this is what I need. Can you give it to me? Okay. This is Wesker. He is an appointment setter. This Broderick was a closer. This is Wesker, an appointment setter. Appointment setters earn about 5% on cash collected. So you can imagine the company that he was setting for. His consistent results. Okay, I looked through his DMs and I coached him through the DMs. And again, like Broderick, he didn't need to type more. He needed to type less. So as I look through your content and your conversation and your calls, the question is not more, but what needs to go, what needs to be eliminated. And once we can get rid of all of that noise and fog and confusion and chaos, what you will see is why you started this business in the very first place. What was the original intent? What was your original mission and spirit? That is the why. That is why you had that initial success before you scaled. And we don't want to break it. We don't want to change it. We don't want to confuse it. We don't want to put the chaos on it. We want to grow that nucleus. We want to grow that spirit. We want to grow that why. So this is me. I am a business strategist and the creator of Inbound Close. And my specialty is in simplicity. I love to keep things lean, simple, and we continue to scale, but we scale based on this simplicity and leanness. In my free time, I fence and I teach Jeet Kune Do on the side. And if you want to see that 3-part series where I do a deeper dive into the exact kind of content and the conversations that when they flow inbound, what should we do? And the calls when we take, how does it go down? Head over to inboundclose.com and study that free 3-part video series, and then whenever it's time, you can go to my Calendly at Sean Sina and schedule your free one-on-one strategy session. This is Sean Sina, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.